What I'm looking for in a bank is one that's looking out for me, like NBT. I want a relationship and a team that supports me in my dreams. And when life gets challenging, I need a bank that's focused on what matters. Not to mention one that's been top-rated by Forbes in trust, customer service, financial advice, and more. That's why when it comes to meeting my banking needs, it's always NBT. Learn more at nbtbank.com. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Welcome and thanks for tuning in. This is Tom Hickey from 2020 Media, one of your hosts for NBT Bank's On the Scene podcast. We are reaching over 250,000 listeners via weha.com, West Hartford Magazine, Jewish Ledger, or however you're tuned in. We thank you for joining us today. Allow me to introduce our co-host, Bob Carr, before we get started introducing today's special guest. Hi, Bob.
Hey, Tom. Tom Hickey, along with myself, Coach McCarty, and Ronnie Newton, is a founder and partner in weha.com. Tom brings to West Hartford the Connecticut Jewish Ledger, West Hartford Magazine, which is West Hartford's original lifestyle magazine, The Taste of West Hartford, The Best of West Hartford, which is coming up this September 28th, as well as other fun events throughout the year. One other thing I want to make a note of, this is going into our fourth year, Tom. This is so basically right now is going into our fourth year doing these podcasts.
Wow.
Wow, right?
So,
post-production.
5 years ago, we didn't know what a podcast was, so that's not
exactly right. Post-production and distribution of our podcast is managed by Exvadia Media, division of the Modern Observer Group. Today, our guest is Bernadette Grecki. We call her Bernie, who is the executive director of the Ad Club of Connecticut. Hi, Bernie.
Hello. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for joining us. Good morning.
So one of the things we did not talk about a little bit earlier, but I want to go back to Tom was president of the Ad Club at one point. Tom, right? Am I correct?
Very much so. And I am so embarrassed to say, Bernie, that if you can convert me today during this podcast, to get involved and to show up for a meeting, that would be a wonderful thing, because that's sort of what everyone listening is trying to say. Who is the Ad Club? What is it all about? Now, when I was president, it was just the Hartford Ad Club. There was Hartford, New Haven, Fairfield. Now it's statewide. It's the Connecticut.
Correct.
Okay.
And, from the demographic study that we did, most of our members are still in the greater Hartford area. We do have New Haven represented, and we do have some members from Fairfield County.
Yeah, great. Well, I'll give a shout out and a plug to Mintz and Hoke, because it's Mintz and Hoke who's all the ad agency in Hibbon, who's all over me about not being involved. So they'll embarrass me one of these times into.
Yeah, you really should get involved if you can. I mean, we started rebuilding in January of 2025. The organization is over 100 years old. It's been around since 1913. It's really the heart of the Connecticut advertising community. And we have grown our membership up to 358. We're about at 360. And we started in January 2025, after COVID and everything else had hit. They weren't collecting membership dues, which was ill-advised. Now we're up and running. And we've got representatives from all the major agencies. We're working on getting some corporate members as well, but there's lots of opportunities for networking, having fun, and professional development.
Well, so speak to that corporate piece. I mean, I want to go back and talk a little bit about how you saved this ad club previously. That's how I met you initially. But before we get to that, I know that certain corporations do put their advertising materials that they've created into the ad club, and they've won awards for their work. I think Lego was one of them. I don't pull names out of my head here, but I remember a couple of years ago, different companies had won awards for their own in-house advertising. Am I correct?
Yes, that's correct. We do have now a members only stipulation for the awards.
Okay.
So unless you remember, you can't submit. Obviously, if an agency did the work and the agency's the member, they can submit.
Okay.
But we're trying to do a differentiation. So when you join, you realize that you're getting true benefits. It's not just in name only. You get discounts to our programs, special member rates, and then we have some members only events.
Well, the educational programs, when I was a member of the Ad Club, so I'm retired as well. Bernie just retired, but she stayed as the executive director of the Ad Club. I was in the Ad Club for probably 20 years, and the educational piece was huge. You want to speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, we actually are considering doing now, starting in September, monthly webinars, lunchtime. And that way we said, people don't have to travel anywhere. They can just sit in front of their laptop, have lunch, and listen to various different topics. We have one coming up in September. It'll be a Wednesday. We haven't nailed the date down yet, but it will be about AI and legal. And it's from Russ Anderson from Pullman Comley. He's gonna present for us.
Very
And these
cool.
will be members only. They're only $10. So we're starting that whole series. But we've done a few already, and the real popular ones too are panels. We've had really good luck with panels. We did a state of the industry panel back in April that had representatives from a lot of vertical markets. The yard goats were there. The Connecticut Sun was there. We had the state of Connecticut, tourism. We had a bank. We had Citizens Bank, Access CT. So some really good topics too. But we do have these, we do have a media morning coming up, which I think is going to be very interesting. And Tom, this is maybe one you should actually, we allow non-members, but you should try it out. It's on September 16th. It's at the Lyceum in Hartford. It's from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. A hot breakfast is served. And we basically are setting up a trade show where all the media outlets have tables. And we have commitments from all the agencies to send their buyers there. And both parties are paying. So we wanted to make, the board really wanted to say, we want to make it so it's a commitment on both sides. So, the media isn't just paying to meet these people, but the people are paying to meet them too. And it's going to be a great program. And then we're going to have, throughout the morning, we're going to have a panel that will be about a half hour from individual, it'll be category specific panel. It will be moderated by Maria Miranda of Miranda Creative.
She's great.
And then the sponsor, to be determined, we don't have one yet, gets a half hour presentation in front of the group.
Very
So
nice.
I think that it's going to be a win-win for everyone.
So that's the 16th of September at 8 a.m. it starts?
8 a.m. at the Lyceum, yeah.
At the Lyceum. Cool. Very cool. So
I usually, Bob, if you don't mind, I usually wait
Yeah.
about halfway through, but you're just making me think, so many people might want to just, Google or look up, the Ad Club and who you are and what you're all about. How do people find information about the Ad Club or reach out to you?
Visit us at adclubct.org. And we have, our website is completely updated. It's beefed up. We have the events calendar. We have history about us. Our board is featured. Our members are featured. Our sponsors are featured. It's really a great resource.
Excellent.
And I can tell it's working very well because I don't get a lot of phone calls with questions of anything that's, already on the website. So people are getting on there and finding it. We have a lot of new people finding it and inquiring about membership. So a good resource.
So adclubct.org. Okay, got that. The so one of the things I want to go back to a little bit is when you and I first met, probably a little closer to 10, 11 years ago, you had just become president again at that time, or executive director again at that time of the Ad Club. So, and at that time it was in somewhat of a downward spiral, and you kind of stopped it. So what's your secret? What's the Bernie secret to getting the Ad Club back on its feet, and then handing it off, and then having somebody not, we can blame COVID for the last disaster, but you've saved it twice now, and I think that's amazing, and it should be
thank
noted.
you. I guess the whole thing is I've been involved in some way since 1980, in most cases volunteer capacity, and it's my favorite organization. And I really feel, and this is the truth, every job I've had, I can link directly to an Ad Club connection. And I find it, and I can do it no problem. Whether somebody comes to an event and talks to me and said, are you interested in maybe doing this? It's worked out very well for me. So some of my best jobs I've gotten are through the ad club and my connections there. And I couldn't see it faltering the way it was. And obviously I did 2016 to 2019, and then I stepped aside. And then of course COVID hit, and things really went downhill fast. And when I saw what was happening, I said, I'm going to get involved again. So I called the former executive committee I worked with, and I said, any chance I can be on the board, get involved? And they said, sure. So then I said, any chance I can start making phone calls and getting the board back in shape? Okay. So, we have representatives from Mince and Hoke and Adams and Knight. We have Cronin. All of these people are well invested now. So it's really, I think maybe everybody tells me it's my enthusiasm. I just really love the organization, and it comes through.
Yeah. Well, I think too, Bernadette, it's Tom talking now, but I think, and Bob, you may have introduced us, way back when, 15 years ago or 10 years ago, but I think it's that extension of it's reaching out to people, that make them feel, like they're wanted, or they're is needed, in an organization. I think you obviously, as Bob had said, you've obviously done that more than well. You've been exceptional, at being able to do that, because it's really brought the club back together, which is great.
Yeah, well, thank you. And really, we're working right now. I have a wish list, and sometimes people on the board tell me it's a little long, but I go, hey, I'm going to work on it till we do it. I want to do a job bank where people post their jobs before they put them out there on LinkedIn. Not that there's anything wrong with LinkedIn, but just sort of give our members a heads up, because, we have some really qualified people that would be great fits. And I think that sometimes, people get lost on some of the job sites where we want to, and we also want to have an internship component to it. So those looking for interns and those looking for an internship, and those looking for a job, and those who are looking for a candidate to fill a position.
Yeah. And I was thinking of that, because really the networking is key, right? Whether you,
Yeah.
whether you need a job or you currently have a job, you may not have a job,
Yeah.
a year from now or whatever. So being a part of it is very important. Yeah.
Yeah, and one thing we try to do is we try to include everyone. So we do have an in-between positions, and it's only $45 a year for dues. And that sort of helps people stay connected, get back on their feet. And we have a really good success story. I mean, we had somebody who had a job. It wasn't her ideal job, but she loved it. And she went to the speed networking. This was a very fun event. I, of course, thought, oh no, this is not going to work. But I said, you know what? I'm just going to say I'm going with it. And it was highly successful. So before we did the speed working event, we did a webinar where we had somebody come in and talk to us about creating your elevator speech. Excuse me, 1 or 2 lines. So if you meet somebody, and she wasn't from the industry, which was perfect, because if somebody got too much, into the weeds, she'd say, I don't know what you're talking about, because we have all these acronyms, particularly in media. It's difficult to translate. So everybody got prepared and went to this. Well, this young woman went, and she met somebody who had just posted a job, and she said she never would have heard about it had she not been at that event. She posted for the job and got it, and it's an ideal job for her. And she said she was going to do I don't want to give too much away, because she's going to do a testimonial for me.
Yep.
And we had a sponsor there, or have a sponsor, a signature sponsor, Nexon, and he is more than willing, and offered to do a testimonial, because we did a connected TV, and he hosted it. And he could not get in front of, or he wasn't having great luck getting in front of the agencies. Well, he had a list of who he wanted there. I made sure they were there. And then this whole media morning came about, where we said, we've got to make it easy for people to talk to people. Obviously, media buyers, Macaris Media, they're always talking to everyone. That's what they do. But the agencies get bogged down, and then, they don't actually, media might not know exactly who they should contact. So this came out of we had an ad agency principal panel, and someone asked, how do you get an appointment at an agency? And Maria Miranda said, let me understand, you're not getting appointments? And he said, no, I can't get in. So she said, well, what if we did like a media day? And so they were the person who answered the question, they were the first group that signed up. Because, how easy is it now? And how, efficient it is for everybody. I used to, early on in my career, I was a media director. You spend a lot of time with a lot of different people, and it was much smaller. Now it's, there's all types of media out there. And if you could do it all in one place, for the most part, and decide who you want to follow up with, it would be a lot more efficient on both sides. So.
WeHa.com, West Hartford's best news source. WeHa.com covers West Hartford and only West Hartford. Find us and subscribe to the WeHa.com newsletter for free. Log on to we-ha.com. That's we-ha.com. We have it all in West Hartford.
It kind of cuts through. Kind of cuts through the email, phone call, email, texting, trying to reach out to someone on LinkedIn, etc. You can meet people face to face. You have a name in the face, and
yeah.
Sorry, Tom, I cut you off. What were you going to say?
No, when Bernie was talking, it just made me think of. I'm sorry to jump back to it because I know we already talked about the past history, but in Fairfield County, New Haven County, so are those those ad clubs are gone,
right?
It's all part of Connecticut now. Okay.
Yeah. What had happened, Tom, was they were really struggling. So we said, come join us. And as you know, we were the Advertising Club of Greater Hartford, and most people I still sometimes get mail for that. But we've done our best to try to do, events. We had an event on AI down in New Haven at one of the colleges there, Albertus Magnus. We had Fairfield County. We had an event for one of the media MNI did a seminar for us and everything. So, a lot of times it's not about sheer numbers coming. It's the right people being there. That, because I always figure, we have almost, we're getting, close to 400 members. I'd like to see at least 10% or more at every meeting. And we usually, sometimes we'll get 70, it's these panels do very well. And sometimes we squeak by with a, lower number, but it's the right people in the room. So that's been helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. Thank you. Sorry, I didn't mean to go back on that.
No problem. No. So it's give us the website once again. We do this a lot. So let's give us the website once again.
That's adclubct.org.
And they can reach you through that, Bernie? So is there a connection, like an email connection through the base of that? If somebody goes onto their website, they can then email you via the website?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
There's a form right on the website, and it's a contact form. And you can click what you want, if it's about membership, whatever it's about, and it comes right to me, and I answer them very quickly.
So my success story, so I'll give this with Bernie, is that I met Bernie probably 11, 12 years ago. She was just starting to look for a new job in Connecticut, I believe, at that time, or right? And then she was back in the ad club. And after she ended up where she was, and you can mention the name of the company if you like. I'm not going to mention it right now. It was great. I ended up she was a great client. So through the ad club, through networking, through chatting with her, she ended up being one of my favorite clients. Is one of the reasons why she's here. And we did some of the most cool projects together. We did a pop-up. I hadn't done a pop-up in years, and we've developed a pop-up for a direct mail campaign, which was phenomenal. It's one of the shining moments towards the end of my career was working with Bernie and her team. And building some really cool projects out. So it was a lot of fun. So I want to thank you for that, because I was actually met you through the ad club, and that was a great opportunity for me, and I loved working with you guys.
Well, it's interesting. It was at Eversource. It was a contract assignment. And the interesting part was I got it through the ad club. We had we were having a professional development series at University of Hartford in the morning. It was that particular one was a social media. Two people came from Eversource. And, I mentioned I was, consulting and freelancing, and they said to each other, maybe we should talk to her. And so they said, are you interested in talking to her? I said, sure. And it turned into a very, very long assignment.
Mm.
I was there from, it was 7. I did 2 stints there. I did one in another department for altogether, I was there about 14, 15 years. So it worked out very well.
Fantastic. Brian, one of the things you just made me think of too, you mentioned previously that there was sort of an in-between member, rate. Is there a, what would you call them? A young entrepreneur, is there like a, something, an introductory rate for somebody who does not yet have a job, just got out of college or,
Oh, yes. Actually, I didn't mean to talk over you. Actually, we were given, 2 of our members gave grants for student memberships, Jay Sloves and Stan Kaplan. So we were able to get students to on board without paying anything. But we have a student rate. We have a young professional rate, which is under 26. We have a retired rate. As I said, we've really all the rates are posted on the website, but an individual solopreneur pays $125 a year, so it's a very reasonable, membership.
Beautiful. Great. Well, we'll send everybody again while they're not driving or whatever they're doing now as they're listening to us. We'll send them to adclubct.org, right? That's what it was?
Correct.
Excellent.
Yes.
Beautiful. Excellent. Is there anything, Bernie, that you would say, what's the big draw? Like, what's the one, is it the awards thing? Like, what's the one big sort of sexy thing that everybody gets excited about at the ad club, would you say?
Oh, it's definitely the awards competition and presentation, definitely. And last year we had a gold sponsor, Mohegan Sun. They had 2 spots within the show. It was just all, it was just a great event. It was at the Bushnell. We're going to do the Bushnell again. We're doing it in the Great Hall, and we sell out. We usually are at 150 for that. It's an opportunity to see some great work and enter your great work, and it's really, we, had a great menu. Max did the catering, did the food. We had gelato. I mean, everybody, gets dressed the way they want, because people always get concerned, what do they need to wear? I say, wear whatever you're comfortable in, It's, but we have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
A lot of fun.
It's funny. I think I wish I could remember this for sure, but I think this is correct. Before you could become either on the executive committee or the president of the ad club back in my day, you had to run an awards show. I think that.
Oh, yes.
That was like sort of the stepping stone. So I remember with Kevin Bauer, hi Kevin, if you're listening, was my co-chair of the awards show that year, and I remember everyone thought we were crazy. We brought Benny King in to be the.
Oh yes, yeah.
So I mean, you never know what someone's gonna do. It was great.
Yeah, and
Kevin and I are still good friends to this day. So it's like,
oh, that's good. That's good. The other thing too is now with being able to do judging virtually, we use a platform called Iceberg, and you go on, you submit, everything is electronic. So I've used judges from all over. So I'm in the process now of getting 5 judges from across the country, where before, we had to fly them in and it was a big expense. And this is just really an opportunity to, decide who you want to have judge the show and ask them. They don't most always say yes, which is always very nice. But that's a big event, and that's October 15th, and that's at the Bushnell this year again. And we may have to move it next year because, if we keep selling out, I said, we need a bigger boat.
That's right. Those are nice problems to have.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Bob, anything that or Bernie, that we did not touch on that you wanted to make sure we mentioned?
I guess what I would like to mention is we always encourage our members to bring a non-member as a guest, and they can do that at the member rate. And at least somebody, because a lot of people say, I'm not sure it's going to be for me. Like, it was very funny because, again, I go back to the speed networking. Typically the graphic artists and graphic designers were saying, not for me, thanks. And I said, well, it might be different. And it turned out that the people who came really enjoyed themselves and got a lot out of it, because it was really more about getting to know someone, and if you could help them, and maybe you can't help them directly, but maybe you know someone who can. And so it's a two-way street. It's not about just going in and selling what you're selling, or getting someone to buy what you're selling.
Mhm.
It's much more than that. And I think we're doing a great job with the true connections. And I think since COVID, I'll just speak for myself, I know a lot of people were really feeling disconnected. And to be able to go to an organization that's so welcoming, and we're working on now an ambassador program, and it's not new. It's not a new idea. A lot of the chambers do it, but we want to have people follow new members, say, hey, I'll be there, I'll meet you there. Because sometimes if we don't get people involved right away, they tend to drop off, so that's what we're trying to do now. And I think it can be it's a group that really has no trouble having fun, and they connect with each other, and they, really do a good job. But sometimes if you're walking into the room and you don't know anybody, it can be a little intimidating, but we'll make sure that doesn't happen.
That's right. Excellent. Beautiful. All right. Well, as always, time flies when we're having fun. So we're out of time, but please, anyone who's listening, not while you're driving or whatever, you're doing something while you're busy, check out adclubct.org so you can learn more in case you've missed anything. And Bernie, if you have any questions for Bernie, go to the contact page, right? And they fill out
Yes.
that form, and they'll go directly to you. We want to thank Bernie, Bob, obviously, for being with us today, and our sponsor, NBT Bank, because without NBT Bank, without our sponsor, NBT Bank, there would be no podcast. So be safe and be well. And in the meantime, we will see you next on The Scene.
Thank you.
What I'm looking for in a bank is one that's looking out for me, like NBT. I want a relationship and a team that supports me in my dreams. And when life gets challenging, I need a bank that's focused on what matters. Not to mention one that's been top rated by Forbes in trust, customer service, financial advice, and more. That's why when it comes to meeting my banking needs, it's always NBT. Learn more at nbtbank.com. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.